Hello and welcome everyone to this video. What we are going to do is look at CAT 2024 slot 3 QA section question by question. So let's start with question number 1. A circular plot of land is divided into two regions by the chord of length 10 root 3 meters such that the chord subtends an angle of 120 degree at the center of the circle. Then the area in square meters of the smaller region is how much? That's what the question is talking about. So if you look at drawing a circle and trying to figure out the area of the smaller region is what they're talking about. So let's say suppose if you look at a chord which is of 10 root 3 centimeters. So let's say suppose this is the chord that you are looking at. Here is the center of the circle. So it subtends an angle of 120 degree at the center of the circle. So this is the angle that you are looking at. Now, this angle turns out to be 120 degrees, what the question is talking about. This length over here turns out to be 10 root 3. This length over here turns out to be 10 root 3. Now, they are talking about the smaller region area. That means this is the region that they're talking about to find out the area of this, right? Now, if you look at this length is 10 root 3. This is the radius r. This is the radius r. If this angle is 120 degree, then these two angles must of course be equal, as these angles are opposite to equal sides of the triangle. Okay, those equal sides are the radius of the triangle. So the leftover two angles should be, sum should be 60 degrees. So each of these angles must be 30 degrees each. So if I look at this as O, look at this as A, and look at this as B, what will be the length of AB? The length of AB should be 2 times r cos 30. This should be the length, total length of AB, and AB length is given to me as 2 root 3. 2 root 3 is 10 root 3. 10 root 3 will be equals to 2 times of r into cos 30, which is root 3 by 2. So if you cancel this, you will realize that the radius will turn out to be equals to 10. Now, in order to find out the area of this smaller segment, what we need to do is find the sector area minus the area of the triangle. So sector area minus the area of the triangle is what we are going to look at. Now, sector area, because it is 120 degrees, so it will be pi r square divided by 360 into 120. So that will be the sector area minus the area of the triangle, which is half. Base length will be 10 root 3 into height will be r sine 30. This will be the length, right? Now, if you look at this, this will become 1 by 3, and you will get what? 100 pi by 3 as the area of the sector, minus of 2 will make it 5, and r sine 30 is what you are looking at, that the value of r was 10 and sine 30 was 1 by 2. So if you look at this, this is going to be 25 root 3 is what you are looking at. 100 pi by 3 minus of 25 root 3 is what you're looking at. Now, understand this thing, that you have a 4 pi by 3 inside the bracket in each of the options. So that gives you an idea that I'll get a 4 pi by 3 in the first place if I take 25 common. So if I take 25 common, it's going to be what? 4 pi by 3 minus of root over of 3 is what we are looking at. So the answer to this question turns out to be option B, 25 times of 4 pi by 3 minus root over of 3. Let's look at the second question. A certain amount of water was poured into a 300 liters container, and the remaining portion was filled with milk. Okay, so let's say suppose your water quantity that you are pouring in this is X. So the milk quantity will turn out to be 300 minus of X. That's going to be the milk quantity. Now, an amount of this solution, then an amount of this solution was taken out from the container. The quantity that you are taking out now from this container was twice the volume of the water. So volume of the water was X, and now you are going to take out 2X quantity of the solution, and water will be poured to refill the container again. If the resulting solution contains 72% milk, then the amount of water in liters that was initially poured, that means they are looking at the value of X. Now what happens over here is that you will have 300 liters of the solution to start with, out of which your milk will be 300 minus X and water will be X. Now from this 300 liters, you are going to remove 2x quantity of the solution and add 2x quantity of water after that. Add 2x quantity of water after that. So finally, what you are going to be left with is 300 liters of the solution once again. And this 300 liters of the solution finally contains 72% milk. So what is the final quantity of milk available over here? That's going to be 72% of 300. So that's 72 times of 3, which is going to be 216 liters of milk will be there. And hence my water quantity in that will turn out to be 300 minus 216, which is 84. This is the final state that we have. Now understand this thing, that your milk quantity in the mixture initially was 300 minus x. Now, what fraction of the mixture are we removing? We are removing 2x out of a 300. That means effectively we are removing x by 150 as a fraction, right? So milk quantity left after this step is going to be 1 minus of x by 150 times of the original quantity of milk, which was 300 minus x. So this will be the quantity of milk left after this step. Finally, what are we adding to this? Water. So that will not change the quantity of milk. So in this 300 liters, this will be the quantity of milk that we already have. And that is also given to me as 216. So you are going to look at 216, this being equals to 216. Now, this is where the calculation becomes a bit more tricky on this question. You can solve this entire question by solving this quadratic equation hence formed, or we will have to look at finding out ways in which we can try and do this question. So let's expand this equation, and at the end we will see what kind of an equation are we left with. 300 minus of x minus of 2x plus of x square by 150 is what we are getting, which is equals to 216. If you take 216 on this side, you are going to get an 84 minus of 3x plus of x square by 150. That turns out to be equals to 0. Now, this is framing a quadratic equation which is going to be difficult to solve, and that's what the challenge on this question now remains. Now, in order to look at this challenge in a slightly more easier way, what we can look at is x square by 150 turns out to be equals to 3x minus of 84. So of course, x square by 150 will not be a negative number. So your value of x should be decided in such a way that it should form 3x to be greater than 84, so that you have a positive number over here. If you solve that, you will realize that number comes out to be equals to 28. So 28 into 3 is 84, right? So x should be greater than 28 for sure. That is one thing that we can look at. Another thing that we can look at over here is that if you look at x square over here, that turns out to be equals to 150 times of 3x minus of 84. Now, typically speaking, in such a question, if I presume that x is an integer, then what can I do? I can look at x square and I realize that over here it should form a perfect square. If you look at 150, it is going to be 5 square into 3 into 4. So 3 into 2, right? 25 into 6 is 150. Then 3x minus of 84 is what you are left with. Now this 3x minus of 84 should be in such a way that it should give me at least a 3 and a 2. If I take 3x minus of 84 as 6, because then this will form a perfect square, then x will turn out to be equals to 30. X will turn out to be equals to 30. If x turns out to be equals to 30 and you put it back over here, you will realize that x square will turn out to be equals to 5 square into 3 square into 2 square, where x will turn out to be 30, and which matches my answer. This is one alternate way of looking at this particular question, or else we will have to solve this quadratic equation, which becomes slightly more difficult to solve. So that's the best possible way of looking at 30 as the answer, because the value of x should be greater than 28. I'll look at the next value. Try to also look at in a multiple of 3 and 2. So the first multiple turns out to be 6. You look at that and you will be able to get down to the value of x as 30. A regular octagon ABCDEFGH has a side length of 6 meters. Then the area in square centimeter of the square ACEG will be what? So we will have to look at trying to form an octagon first. So let me try my hand at drawing an octagon. So if you look at trying to draw an octagon, this is how your octagon is going to look like. So let's quickly finish this off. Now this becomes your octagon. Okay. And this is a regular octagon of side 6 each. So we are looking at naming it as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. All right. Now, then the area in square centimeter of the square ACEG. So if you look at ACEG is what they're looking at. So this is the square that they're trying to find out, right? Now, the exterior angle of a regular polygon is given by 360 divided by 8. So 360 divided by n, and in this case, it is an octagon. So if you divide this, it will turn out to be 45 degrees. So if the exterior angle is 45 degrees, 180 minus 45 is going to give you 135 degrees of an interior angle. So each of the interior angles will turn out to be 135. Now, effectively, if I'm able to find out the side of the square, I'll be able to answer this problem. Now, this particular angle turns out to be 135 degrees. This side turns out to be 6, and this side turns out to be 6. That's what the question is talking about. Now, if you look at this, I need to find out this length. Suppose this is x. So now, if I look at my cosine rule, what does the cosine rule says? It says that x square should be equals to ab square plus of bc square plus of bc square minus of 2ab into bc into cos of 135. Now we need the value of x square effectively because we are looking at the area. So if I'm able to solve this equation, I should be able to answer the problem. Now AB is 6 units, BC is also 6 units. So if you look at this, this is going to be 36 plus of 36 minus of 2 times of 6 into 6 again. So that is also giving me a 36 and cos 135. Cos 135 is effectively going to be cos 90 plus 45. Cos 90 plus theta is minus of sine theta. So this minus then becomes, this minus over here then becomes plus, and it becomes sine of 45 degrees, right? So this is going to then give me what? 72 plus of 72 times of sine 45, which is 1 by root over of 2. So if you take 72 common, it is going to be 1 plus 1 by root 2, which turns out to be root 2 plus 1 by a root 2. So if I wish to cancel a root 2, it is going to be 36 times of root 2 into root 2 plus 1. Take this root 2 inside the bracket, and you are going to get 36 times of 2 plus of root 2, which is where you'll find your option C as the answer to this question. In a group of 250 students, the percentage of girls was at least 44 and at most 66. So out of 250 students that you are talking about, you are saying at least 44 percentage are girls. So let's quickly finish it off over here itself. 44 percentage of 250 is what you are trying to calculate. 4, 5, 11, and you are looking at 25 into 10. This should have been right. So it is turning out to be okay 110 odd girls at the maximum and sorry minimum, and then you have about a 60 percentage as your maximum limit of the number of girls. So 60 percentage of 250 is what you are looking at. So 25 2s are 10 and 5 5s are 25. Then you have 30 over here, and that turns out to be equals to 150. So the number of girls is ranging between 110 to a 150. If it ranges between 110 to 150, their total number of students are 250, then the number of boys would be maximum number of boys will be when the girls are minimum. So if 110 are the girls, your number of boys will turn out to be 140. And if 150 are the girls, which is the maximum number of girls possible, then the minimum number of boys is going to be 100. So this is a range that we have. We also know that boys plus number of girls should turn out to be equals to 250. That is something that we know, right? Now, the rest of the students were boys. Each student opted for either swimming or running or both. So every student is either into one of these categories or both the categories. That means there is nobody who is not opting between swimming and running both. So there's nobody who can opt out of both of these at the same time, right? Now, if 50 percentage of the boys and 80 percentage of the girls opted for swimming, this is given to you. Now let's try to represent this by circles as your sets. So let's say suppose this belongs to the number of people who have opted for swimming, and this belongs to the number of students who have opted for running. So let's say this is swimming, this is running, and let's say I take this as X as the number of students who have opted for both. Right now, they're telling us that 50 percentage of the boys and 80 percentage of the girls opted for swimming. 50 percentage of boys, and so 50 percentage of boys is 0.5b plus 80 percentage of the girls, which is 0.8 g, opted for swimming. So that's the data that you have for swimming, while 70 percentage of the boys and 60 percentage of the girls opted for running. So running, the complete circle, is 70 percentage of the boys, 0.7b plus of 0.6 g. Right now, X is a set of students who have been counted in swimming also and in running also, as they have opted for both. So if you add these two values, swimming and running, you will realize that this set of values X would be counted in swimming also. This set of values X will be counted for running also. So if you add these two equations, you are going to get what? 1.2b plus of 1.4 g. This will be the total. And out of this total, because X has been counted twice, I am removing this X once. I should get the total number of people under the consideration set, and which is equals to what? 250. So I get this equation. We also know B plus G is also turning out to be equals to 150. If I look at it very closely, I would realize that 1.2b can be written as B plus G over here. So I'm taking 1b and 1g out, plus of 0.2b plus of 0.4g minus of x should turn out to be equals to 250. Now b plus g is also 250, and there is a 250 over here. So I'm cancelling both, and I'm saying that the value of x, which is the number of people who are taking both, opting both for swimming and running, is turning out to be 0.2b plus of 0.4g. Correct. Now, B plus G is equals to 250 is what the question is talking about, right? So if I replace one of this, I'll get X in terms of one variable. So let's say suppose I take the value of B as 250 minus of G, and I replace it over here. So this turns out to be 0.2 times of 250 minus of G plus of 0.4 G. That's the set of values that you have. Now, if you look at this, zero point 0.2 into 250 will turn out to be the value equals to 50, minus of 0.2g plus of 0.4g will turn out to be plus of 0.2g. Correct? Now, I want to understand what is the maximum and the minimum possible value of X. That's what the question is talking about. Minimum and the maximum possible value of the students who have opted for both swimming and running. So if I maximize the value of G in this equation, I will get the maximum possible value of X. If I minimize the value of G in this, I'll get the minimum possible value of X. So X will turn out to be, minimum possible value will be 50 plus of 0.2 times of 110, which will turn out to be 50 plus of 22, which turns out to be equals to 72. So 72 should be the minimum possible value. What will be the maximum possible value? Take the value of maximum possible value of G, which is 150. So you are going to get 50 plus of 0.2 times of 150, which is going to be what? 50 plus of 30. That's going to be nothing but 80. So minimum possible value will be 72. Maximum possible value will be 80. Option D will be the correct answer. Let's look at the next one. It says Gopi marks a price of a product in order to make a profit of 120 percentage. Okay. So let's say suppose you have a value X as the cost price. You mark the product at 1.2x in order to make a profit of 20 percentage. Ravi gets a discount of 10 percentage on this mark price. If you get a discount of 10 percentage on this mark price, he saves rupees 15. So effectively, if I say 10 percentage of my mark price, that should turn out to be equals to 50. So if you solve this further, you will realize that your mark price of the product should have been 150. If your mark price of the product is 150, 1.2x is also your mark price, right? So 1.2x must be equals to 150. That's what the question is talking about. So what is the value of x, which is your cost price? So 1500 divided by 12 is what you are looking at. So if you solve this, 12 ones are 12, 30, 12 twos are 24, 12 fives are 60. So 125 turns out to be the cost price of the product. 1.2 into 125 will turn out to be the mark price of the product, which was 150. And then the profit in rupees made by Gopi by selling the product to Ravi is how much? Ravi is getting a 10% discount on the mark price, right? So what is the 10% discount on the mark price? 10% of 150. If 10% of 150 then turns out to be what? 15. So your selling price will turn out to be what? 150 minus of 15, which is equals to what? 135. So your selling price should be 135, and your mark price, sorry, your cost price was turning out to be what? 125 over here. Your cost price was 125. So if he sells it at a discount of 10, he is going to earn a profit of 10 rupees. And that is what the question was talking about. Then the profit in rupees made by Gopi by selling the product to Ravi is how much? That is 10 rupees. Let's look at question number 6. The average of three distinct real numbers is what? 28. The smallest number is increased by 7 and the largest number is reduced by 10. So they are talking about three numbers. Let me take those three numbers as A, B, C. A being the largest number, B being the middle number, and C being the smallest number. So I already know that the average of the three distinct real numbers, A plus B plus C divided by 3, will turn out to be equals to 28. This is one equation that I have. Now, if the smallest number is increased by 7 and the largest number is reduced by 10. So if your largest number was A, you are reducing it by 10. Your smallest number, you are increasing it by 7. So smallest number was C, you are increasing it by 7. Then the order of the numbers remains unchanged. Order of the numbers remains unchanged. That means B will still be in between A minus 10 and C plus of 7. And A minus 10 still is the higher number and C plus 7 is the lowest out of the three new numbers as well. And in arithmetic mean becomes 2 more than the middle number. So the arithmetic mean of these numbers turns out to be B plus 2. That's something which is given to you on the question itself. Right now, with the help of this, we will be able to frame an equation. Let's see what will be the arithmetic mean of these numbers. Arithmetic mean of these numbers will be A plus B plus C minus of 10 plus of 7. That will give me minus of 3 over a, divide that value by 3, must be equals to B plus 2. Right? I already know A plus B plus C by 3 is turning out to be 28. So I'm taking 28 over here. Minus 3 by 3 is minus 1, will be equals to B plus 2. If you solve this further, your value of B turns out to be equals to 25. Now we know the value of B over here, which is 25. While the difference between the largest and the smallest number becomes 64. Largest number is still A minus 10. So A minus 10, which is the largest number, and the difference with the smallest number is what they're talking about. This difference becomes equals to 64. That is given on the question also. So what are we getting? A minus C over here. Minus of 10 minus of 7, that goes on the other side. It becomes 64 plus of 17, which then gives me what? 81. So A minus C turns out to be equals to 81. This is one equation that I'm getting. I know the value of B, so I can replace the value of B over here and I can get the value of A plus C as well. So let's try and do this. A plus 25 plus of C turns out to be equals to 28 into 3, which turns out to be equals to 84. So A plus C would then turn out to be equals to 84 minus of 25, which then turns out to be equals to 59. So A plus C turns out to be equals to 59. Then the largest in the original set of three numbers is what? Largest number was A. So they're seeking the value of A. I look at these two equations and I add the two equations. This will get cancelled out. I'll get the value of 2A, which will then turn out to be equals to 8 and 5, 13, 140. And A will turn out to be equals to 70. So 70 will be your largest number, largest original number that you are talking about. And that will be the answer to this question. Let's look at question number 7. It says A plus B under root of 3 raised to the power of 2 is equals to 52 plus 30 times of root 3. Correct. Now, if you expand this on the left hand side, it will turn out to be a square plus 3 times of b square plus of 2ab root over of 3. And on the right hand side, this value should be equals to 52 plus 30 root 3. Now, where a and b are natural numbers, you are looking at natural numbers. Okay. Now, this is important for us to understand because a and b then turns out to be integers that you are talking about. So, if you look at this part, this will be irrational, and that should be equals to the irrational part of this side also, right? Because the other two will be rational numbers, and over here the rational number turns out to be 52. So we effectively have got two equations which says a square plus 3b square must turn out to be equals to 52, and we have 2ab root over of 3 turning out to be equals to 30 times of root over of 3. So root over of 3 gets cancelled out and ab turns out to be equals to 15. A and b are natural numbers. Now, if you look at 15 and look at the factors of 15, your value of a and b can be 1 and 15. It can interchange also, so it can be 15 and 1, or it can be 3 and 5. That's what we are looking at, right? Apart from that, there are no other factors that we are looking at for 15. So 1, 3, and 15 turns out 1, 3, 5, and 15 turns out to be the factors of 15, right? Now, if you take 1 and 15 in any order, you will realize if you take a square as 1 square and b square as 15 square, it is not going to match. If you reverse it also, it is not going to match. So 1 and 15 are definitely not my pairs. If you look at 3 and 5, if you look at 5 square, which is 25, into 3, it will become 75. So b cannot be 5. So can b be equals to 3? Let's try to look at this. If b becomes equals to 3, then a becomes equals to 5. So this value will become 25 plus 3 times of 3 square, which is 9. Is it turning out to be equals to 52? Yes, 27 plus 25 is turning out to be equals to 52. So we now very clearly have our values of a as 5 and our value of b as 3. They are asking you what is the value of a plus b. A plus b turns out to be equals to 8, right? So that will be the answer for question number 7. Okay, let's look at question number 8. After two successive increments, Gopal's salary becomes 187.5 percentage of the initial salary. 187.5 percentage of the initial salary. That means there is an increase of 87.5 percentage of the initial salary. If the percentage of the salary increase in the second increment was twice that of the first increment. So if the first increment was A, then the second increment should turn out to be equals to 2A. Then the percentage salary increase in the first increment was how much? So you have to find the value of A. That is what precisely the question is talking about. This question in the exam had options with it. Now, your net increase should turn out to be 87.5 percentage because the value becomes 187.5 percentage. So the increase is 87.5 percentage. Now, if you look at the options just for a second, you would realize that the correct answer will turn out to be 25 because if you, let's say, take 20. So if I take 20, what is the successive percentage change? It is a successive percentage change of A and 2A, correct? So if the value of A is, let's say, 20, so you are going to find 20 into this will value will become 40. So the formula would turn out to be a plus b, which was 40 in this case, plus 20 into 40 divided by 100. This will give me the net percentage increase, correct? So this will then become 60 and 40 into 2, this will become 68 percentage. Now we need the percentage to be equals to 87.5. So of course it will be greater. If you go to 30 and 60, you will realize 30 and 60 numerical sum itself is turning out to be 90. So of course we have figured out it should be greater than 20 and it cannot be equals to 30. Instead of checking 27.5, check an easier value which is 25. So if you take the value of A as 25, then your next increment will turn out to be a 50 percentage plus 25 into 50 will divided by 100. If you solve this, it will turn out to be 87.5. And that gives you a direct answer. Using the options, you can look at this particular question. Now let's have a look at this particular question without using the options. It's going to become slightly more complicated. So what they're suggesting is that the value of A and 2A is what your percentage increments are. So if you look at making a generic equation, you will say A plus 2A plus A times of 2A divided by 100 must be equals to 87.5. This is what they're trying to ask you to solve. Okay. So if you look at this, this will turn out to be equals to 3A plus 2a square divided by 100 is turning out to be equals to 87.5. It is easier for me to multiply something by 100, so I'm still keeping it. And I'm saying 300a plus 2a square will turn out to be equals to 8750. That's the values that you are looking at. Right now, if you cancel a 2 throughout, it is going to be what? 150a plus of a square is equals to 4375. Now if you take your a common from here, you are going to realize it is 150 plus of a should turn out to be equals to 4375. I look at 4375 and I realize that it is divisible by 25 for sure. Let me factorize this. So if I factorize it by 25, you will realize it will turn out to be 25 into 1, and then it is 187. So 25 into 7 is 175, and 125, so 175. So if you are able to get down to this, you can directly call your value of a as 25, because if a is 25, this particular bracket is 150 more than 25, which is 175, which is what you are getting over here. This is also one of the ways of solving this equation. Otherwise, what you will have to do is to solve this using that quadratic equation formula. These are the only ways to look at this. Using options is of course a much better answer. So option D turns out to be the answer for this question. Let's look at question number 9. It's a very interesting question to my mind, very beautifully framed question. So it says that sum of all distinct values of x that we need to find out that satisfies this particular equation. Right now, typically looking at this equation, students are able to understand that if I take 10 to the power of x as a, it gives me a quadratic equation which is easy to solve. Right, let's try and do this. It becomes a plus 4 by a is equals to 81 by 2. Let's just try and solve this further. It will become 2a square plus of 8 is equals to 81a. So 2a square minus of 81a plus of 8 equals 0. Now again, solving this to find out the values of a and b is going to be extremely challenging task, right? Because it is not giving you by splitting the middle term, and it will give you some values which are of course irrational and difficult to handle. Right now, understand what is the question asking you. Sum of all distinct values of x. You have taken the value of over here 10 to the power of x as a. You look at the options and everything has got a log in it. Can I take a log of this equation? Log base 10. So if I take a log base 10, so what am I going to get? Log of log base 10, 10 to the power of x will become equals to log a. Correct? Now, this will turn out to be x is equals to log a. You are looking at finding out the sum of all distinct real values of x. Correct? Now if you look at this equation, how many values of a are there? There are two values of a are there over here, a1 and a2. So there will be two values of x. Look at this. X1 will be corresponding to log base 10 a1, and x2 will be corresponding to log base 10 a2. Correct? This is what it will be. They're asking you the values of x1 plus x2. If you look at the values of x1 plus x2, it will turn out to be log of base 10 a1 plus log of base 10 a2. What is happening on the right hand side? It is turning out to be log of base 10 a1 times of a2. Correct? That will be the sum of values of x1 and x2. Correct? And can I look at this equation and simply find out the values of a1 and a2? a1 into a2, right? So a1 into a2 will turn out to be what? For a quadratic equation, it is for a quadratic equation of the format ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0. The product of the roots is c by a. So in this case, c by a will turn out to be what? 8 by 2, which is turning out to be what? 4. Your constant term was 8 and the coefficient of squared term is 2. So 8 by 2 will turn out to be equals to 4. So a1, a2, product of the two values is turning out to be equals to 4. So your x1 plus x2 will turn out to be log base 10 4, and which is then going to be what? 2 times of log base 10 2, and that becomes your answer, option A. Let's look at question number 10. Sam can complete a job in 20 days when working alone. So Sam is able to complete the job in 20 days. Mohit is twice as fast as Sam. If Mohit is twice as fast as Sam, then Mohit is going to do the work in half the number of days as Sam. So I'm taking that as 10. And Mohit is thrice as fast as Anna, right? So Mohit is thrice as fast as that, as fast as A. So this value will turn out to be equals to what? 30. So this is the number of days for each one of them. Let me take the total unit of work as 60. That makes my life a lot easier. 30, 10, and 20. LCM of that. So this then gives me what? That Sam S will be doing 3 units per day. M will be doing 6 units per day. And A will be doing 2 units per day. Now go further on the question. They undertake a job with an arrangement where S and M work together on the first day. So on the first day, who is working? S and M is working on the first day. S and A are working on the second day. On the second day, S and A are working. And on the third day, M and A are working. Expected pattern this is M and A are working on the third day. So if you look at a bunch of 3 days, everyone would have worked for 2 days. And this 3 day pattern repeats until the work gets completed. Then the fraction of the total work done by Sam. Sam has done total of how much amount of what fraction of work is what the question is talking about. So Sam and S and M are working on the first day. They'll do 9 units. S and A are working on the second day, they'll finish 5 units. And M and A are working on the third day, they'll finish 8 units. So if you look at this total, 9 and 5, 14, 14 and 8 is 22. So total amount of work was what? 60. In 3 days, they have done 22 units. Another 22 units will make it what? 44 units of work done in how many days? In 6 days. And in this 6 days, in the first 3 days, everyone has worked for 2 days. In the next 3 days, everyone would have worked for 2 days. So everyone in the 6 days would have worked for 4 days. This is something that we get down. Now, on the seventh day, who will be working? On the seventh day, S and M will be working. They'll finish how many units? They'll finish 9 units more. So 44 plus 9 is what you are getting, which is 53 units, right? Now, on the eighth day, again, 5 more units will get over. So that means how many units are over till this? 53 plus 5, 58 units are over. And on the final day, you will have whatever is the leftover amount of work that needs to be done, right? So there will be 2 more units of work that needs to be done. But we are only concerned with Sam. Now understand, Sam till here had worked for 4 days, correct? Oh, on this day, Sam is working? Yes. On this day, Sam is working? Yes. So Sam has worked for a total of 6 days is what we are getting down to. Sam is doing 3 units per day. So in 6 days, Sam would have done 18 units. So what fraction of the total work has Sam finished? 18 by 60 units, because 60 was the total unit of work. So it is 3 by 10. That turns out to be the answer for this particular question, which is option B. Let's look at this series and sequence question. Now, in series and sequence question, I always suggest all my students to try and write the first few terms by yourself, and you will be able to then understand in all likelihood a pattern which is going on in the series that has been formed, right? So let's try and have a look at this. T1, they've already given it to you, which is 1. T2, they've already given it to you, which is turning out to be -1. Now let's look at this, that this formula is valid for what? This formula is valid for n greater than or equals to 3. So if I want to keep the value of n as 3, I'll get T3. So let me try and calculate the value of T3. So if I look at T3 and I put the value of n as 3, this will give me T3. And the numerator will turn out to be 3 minus 3, which is 0. 0 multiplied by any number will give me 0 again. So absolutely no problem. T3 turns out to be equals to 0. I don't even have to calculate any further than that. Okay. Now, if I want to get the value of T4. So if I want to get the value of T4, what it gives me? Look at this. 4 minus 3, which is going to be 1. 4 minus 1, which is going to be 3. Right? Into T4 minus 2. That means T2 is what they're talking about. So if they're talking about T2, then I'm going to put -1. So -1 by 3 is what we are getting. I still don't have a pattern with me. Let's go a little further, write a first few terms, as I said. So what will be T5? If I want to calculate the value of T5, now understand, T5, if I want to calculate, it is going to depend on T3. And T3 is going to be, is already 0. So T5, multiply this bracket by a T3. That is going to give me 0 only, right? So T5 also turns out to be 0. Now, similarly, T7 will depend on T5. T5 is 0, T7 will be 0. So by now I'm clear that all the odd terms are turning out to be 0 and the even terms is what where the question is hovering around, because if you look at this also, it is only talking about the even terms T2, T4, T6 all the way up to T2024, right? If you look at T6, let's try to find out what T6 is. So if you try to look at T6, T6 is going to be 6 minus 3, which is 3, divided by 6 minus 1, which is going to be 5, into T6 minus of 2, which is T4. And T4 was turning out to be what? Minus 1 by 3. So you multiply this by minus 1 by 3. So if you multiply this by minus 1 by 3, it will become minus 1 by 5. Now there looks like some kind of a pattern. With a T4, you are getting minus 1 by 3. T6, 1 less than that in the denominator, minus 1 by 5. Let me now look at T8. Is it going to give me the same pattern? Then it will get confirmed. T8 will be what? 8 minus 3, which is going to be 5, divided by 8 minus 1, which is going to be 7, multiplied by t times of T6, and T6 is turning out to be minus 1 by 5. It turns out to be minus 1 by 5. 5 and 5 will get cancelled out. Again, T8 is turning out to be minus 1 by 7. By now, I am absolutely clear what is happening. Now, 1 by T2 will be what? 1 by T2 will be minus 1 plus 1 by T to the T4. What it is going to be? That is going to be minus 3. Then the next one is turning out to be what? Minus 5. Then the next one is turning out to be minus 7, so on and so forth, right? And I'm going all the way up to T2024. Now understand this thing, that T6 in the denominator, you have a value 1 less than 6, which was 5. In 4, what is happening? 1 less than the value in the denominator. In 8, again 1 less than the value in the denominator. So if I have to go to T2024, then I'm going to get 2023 over there. So I'm going to get minus of 2023. Now this question now boils down to adding 1357 all the way up to 2023. First thing. Second thing, we need to understand that this is your first term of the series that you want to add. This is your second term. This is your third term, right? Which is half of this value. So it is going to be 1012 terms, right? So now if I look at sum of n terms of a arithmetic progression, it is going to be n by 2 twice of a plus n minus 1 into d, where n is the term number and a is the first term. Now, the number of terms that I'm looking at is 1012 divided by 2. Twice of a, first term is turning out to be 1. I'm forgetting at the moment minus because I'll put minus at the last. And the first term then I'm taking it as 1. So this becomes a 2 plus of n minus 1. So I'm looking at 1012 terms. So it becomes 1011 multiplied by the common difference of 2. If you look at this 2 over here, this 2 will get cancelled from this. So what are we left with? We are left with 1012 multiplied by 1012. It is ending with 12. So the square must end with a 444. If you look at the options, there's only one 444 over here at the end, which then gives me the answer as option C for this particular question. Let's look at question number 12. A very interesting question this is, where we need to have an understanding of how graphs really work. If I can look at that, then doing this question will become very, very easy for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the graph of the right hand side and I'm going to look at the graph of the left hand side and understand how many intersection points are there. Number of distinct real values is all what they're asking me. Right now, let me first look at the graph of modulus of x plus 2 minus of modulus of x minus 2. By simply following the basic rule, it says that this graph is changing its values around x equals to minus 2. This is changing its value around x equals to 2. So on my graph paper, I would realize that there are two critical points that we are referring to. Okay, so if we refer to two critical points, those critical points are going to be minus 2 and 2 that you are looking at. So this is your x-axis, y-axis, and you are looking at a 2 and a minus 2 as the values where it is changing, right? These are the values. Now, if the value of x is greater than or equals to 2, then what happens? The first modulus values inside the modulus is positive, and since x is greater than 2, the value inside this modulus is also positive. So you can simply drop the modulus and write this as x plus 2 minus of x minus 2, which then turns out to be what? X plus 2 minus of x plus of 2, and x will get cancelled out. So for any value of x greater than or equals to 2, your right hand side is going to yield the value what? 4. So at x equals to 2, y will turn out to be equals to 4. Suppose this is 4 that we are talking about, and then it is going to move like this always for any value of x greater than 2. So this is the graph that we are getting in the region x greater than equals to 2. Now look at the second region, x lying between minus 2 to 2. Minus 2 to 2 is what we are looking at. If I look at minus 2 to 2, then x plus 2 for any value of x greater than minus 2 is going to be positive. So I'm going to write x plus 2 over here. And then x minus 2, because the value of x is less than 2, will turn out to be negative. So I'm going to make it negative once I drop the modulus. So this is going to become what? Minus x plus of 2. Now, if you expand this bracket, you are going to get what? X plus of x, which is going to become 2x, and 2 and minus 2 will get cancelled out. So in this region between minus 2 to 2, it is going to take the values equivalent to 2x. So put x as 2, it is going to give you 4. So your graph is over here. Put x as minus 2, it is going to give me a minus 4 over here, which is a value over here. And I can then join the 2 points to say that this will be the graph in between minus 2 to 2 for my right hand side of the equation. Let's look at the last part of it. When x is less than or equals to minus 2, then what will be the graph of the right hand side? This will be negative. First modulus will be negative. Second modulus will also be negative. So you will get minus x minus of 2. And then you will have this negative sign present over here. And then you will have a minus x plus of 2. So if you expand this further, you will realize x will get cancelled out and you are going to get a minus 4 over there. So what will be the graph in the region x less than minus 2 for my right hand side? This is going to be my graph, right? Now comes the next part of it, which is very, very interesting. The way they have described the, graph or the function on the left hand side of this equation. Now look at this: max of x comma minus 2, minimum of x comma 2, right? Now, if I put any value greater than 2, this value will change. If I put any value between minus 2 to 2, there will be again changes, and bit less than minus 2 again changes. So my ranges will remain the same once again. They have designed the question that way. So if x is greater than or equals to 2, then what happens to my second function is what we are looking at. So let me take the second function in another color so that we are better able to look at this. So if I look at the second function, which was the function present on my left hand side of the equation, max of x comma minus 2. So if you take any value of x greater than 2, then what happens? Your value of x is greater than 2. And the other value is what? Minus 2. So which value will be greater? X is greater than 2. And in comparison to minus 2, this value of x will be greater, of course. So what will be the value that you will get out of this? You will always get the value as x minus of minimum of x comma 2. So when your value of x is greater than 2, so this value will be greater and 2 will be lesser. They are talking about minimum of x comma 2. So it will turn out to be 2 only. So your function takes the value x minus 2 in the region x greater than equals to 2. So if you put 2, it is going to be 0. And then as and when you increase the value of x going forward, let's say you put 3, it will give you 1. You put 4, it will give you 2. So it is going to follow a straight line. And that equation of the straight line is, of course, going to be what? X minus 2. So that's the graph that you are going to get in that region. Let's move to the second region and try and understand what happens to my left hand side in this region. Minus 2 to 2. The value of x is between minus 2 to 2. And you are trying to look at the maximum value between x and minus 2. This value is remaining minus 2. But the other value is turning between minus 2 to 2. My max value will still be given by x only. Minus of minus 2 to 2, minimum of minus 2 to 2 and 2. So of course it will be minus 2 to 2, which is x. So x minus x will turn out to be what? 0. So your value between minus 2 to 2 for my left hand side is going to be nothing but 0. So it will move all along the x-axis. So we have got two intersection points at the moment. One intersection point is of course 0, 0. One intersection point is over here. Let's look at the left hand side in the region x less than or equals to minus 2. When I look at x less than or equals to minus 2, value of x is less than minus 2. And over here you have a minus 2. What will be the maximum value over there? It will be minus 2. Then you have a minus sign over here, minimum of x comma 2. The value is less than minus 2. So of course, x will be lower than 2 always in this region. So it will turn out to be minus 2 minus x. If you put the value of x as minus 2 in this, it will give you 0. So the function is starting from here. Now just put a minus 3 over there. If you put a minus 3, minus 2 plus of 3, it will become, which will be 1. So you will have a graph which of course is having a negative slope and is going to move like this. So now how many intersection points do you have? You have two intersection points, and that becomes the answer for this question, that there are two distinct real values of x which will satisfy this equation. Let's look at this one. Aman invests 4,000 in a bank at a certain rate of interest compounded annually. If the ratio of the value of the investment after 3 years and the ratio of value of investment after 5 years is 25 is to 36. Now understand the same principal value is 4,000. After 3 years, the value is going to be 1 plus r by 100 to the power of 3, compounding annually, right? Now in the denominator, what will we get? 4,000 into 1 plus r by 100 to the power of 5. This is what is going to be. So 4,000 will get cancelled out, and 1 plus r by 100 to the power of 3 will get cancelled out, and you will get a 2 over here. Let me take 1 plus r by 100 as x. That makes my life a bit more easier. 1 by x square is turning out to be equals to 25 by 36. So 1 by x will turn out to be equals to 5 by 6. So x will turn out to be equals to 6 by 5. What was the value of x? The value of x was 1 plus r by 100. 1 plus r by 100 is turning out to be 6 by 5. Your value of r by 100 is turning out to be equals to 1 by 5, and r will turn out to be equals to 20. So you have a 20 percentage is as the value of r is what you are talking about. Now, how many years are required for the investment to exceed 20,000? So 4,000 multiplied by 1 plus r by 100 to the power of n must turn out to be greater than or equals to 20,000 is what the question is talking about. So 4,000 will cancel this and it will become 5. And the value of r was 20. So what are we trying to find out? We are trying to say 1.2 to the power of n should be greater than or equals to 5. Now this question from here on, either we'll have to use our calculators to find out the answer, or we will have to look at a lot of approximation to find out the answer. On the CAT paper, you have your calculators available. I understand it is a time consuming process. So instead of taking 1.2 to the power of n, I know I can by heart this thing that 112 square is 144. So that becomes 1.44. So instead of using that, just take 1.44 multiplied by 1.44. That will make it 4 years. Multiplied by 1.44, that will make it 6. Multiplied by 1.44, that will make it 8. And when you multiply this by 1.2, this will at this point exceed the value of 5. And hence it will take 9 years to get this done. Now there's no other way out to approximate this. So I would suggest that we look at the calculators and get that question done. Yes, it is going to take a bit of time, but we can't really help it beyond that. Let's look at question number 14. A very, very interesting question to my mind, a beautifully framed question. What they've done is they've given you 3 power a equals to 4, 4 power b is equals to 5, 5 power c is equals to 6, and so on and so forth. And then they are asked you the value of a, b, c, d, e, f. Now, the moment you write this, it will start speaking for itself as to what are we supposed to. Look at this. 3 power a turns out to be equals to what? 4. 4 power b turns out to be equals to 5. 5 power c is turning out to be equals to 6, and 6 power d is turning out to be equals to 7. 7 power e is turning out to be equals to 8, and 8 power f is turning out to be equals to 9. Now start from this. For last one, where you say 9 is equals to 8 to the power of f, correct? Now from this, can we write 8 power f once again in another term? 8 power f will become 7 power e to the ef, correct? So 8 power f becomes equals to 7 to the power of ef. Now go back to this equation and raise this equation to the power of ef. So it will give you what? 7 to the power of ef is equals to 6 to the power of def. So this is turning out to be 6 to the power of def. Look at this once again. It's the same thing we have to continue to repeat. Raise this equation to the power of def. So what will you get? 6 to the power of def. And on the left hand side, what will you get? You'll get 5 to the power of cdef. So we are getting what? 5 to the power of cdef. Now once again, over here we will do the same thing. 5 to the power of cdef will give me what? 4 to the power of bcdef. Now if I get 4 to the power of bcdef, it will become what? 3 to the power of A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And look at this. At the end, you had a 9. So what will happen to A, B, C, D, E, F? It will become equals to 2, right? So we need to also understand that manually or by any other calculation, we will not be able to find out the values of A, B, C, D, E effectively, right? So we will have to look at manipulating the given equations to get down to that particular value, and that gives you an idea how to go about doing this question. The answer to this question is 2. Let's look at question number 15. For some constant real numbers p, k, and a, consider the following system of linear equation. This is a system of linear equation in x and y, two equations. Necessary condition for the system to have no solutions. If the system to have no solution, we already know that p by 3 should be equals to what? Minus 4 by k. To make the lines parallel, these values must not be equals to 2 by a. This is the preliminary equation that we know. Now from this set of preliminary equation, we can find three equations. Let me find out the three equations. Let me equate the first and the last one and say p by 3 must not be equals to 2 by a. So if I look at this, I will realize a by ap must not be equals to 6. So my first necessary condition is ap must not be equals to 6. Look at the second condition. Make this equals to this. So if you make that p by 3 is equals to minus 4 by k. If you solve this, you will realize pk is equals to minus of 12. So your second condition is turning out to be equals to pk equals minus of 12. Correct? Now look at the third one. If you look at the third one, what are we going to say? We are going to equate these two and say that this equation is also something that we get. This will give me an inequality, and that will be a necessary condition. Minus 4 by k must not be equals to 2 by a, right? So if you solve this, you will realize that this will get cancelled out. You will get a minus 2. So minus 2a must not be equals to k, or we can simply write k plus 2a must not be equals to 0. Now look at the options. You will realize that the first option is something which is present directly, which is 2a plus k must not be equals to 0. If you look at option C and option D, you can very easily eliminate because these are exactly opposite of my other two conditions, right? So this and this is gone. Now this is not a necessary condition. They are asking you which of the following is a necessary condition. So option B will also not be the answer. Option A will be the correct answer for this question. Let's look at 16th. 10 power 68 is divided by 13 and you were supposed to find out the remainder. Now a bit of binomial expansion is something that if is available with us, if we are able to retain that and use it, it will be very, very helpful. So 10 will become what? 13 minus 3 to the power of 68 divided by 13. Remainder will be same as minus 3 to the power of 68 divided by 30. Why am I interested in 3 in the numerator? Because 3 cube is giving me 27, which is 26 plus 1. And 26 is a multiple of 13. So that is how I'm looking at thinking about 3 and then powers of 3, right? Minus 3 to the power of 68 is effectively nothing but 3 to the power of 68 divided by 13. So if I go further, I'll say 3 to the power of 3 to the power of 22 will give me 66, and then you will have a 3 square separately divided by 30. Now, I just want you to evaluate 27, which is 3 cube to the power of 22, right? If you go further, you can rewrite this as 26 plus 1 to the power of 22, correct? And when you divide this value by 30, what are we going to get? We are going to get a remainder of 1 by 30, correct? So, can I not simply say that 27 to the power of 22 must be of the format 13k plus 1. Now replace it over here. 3 to the power of 3 to the power of 22, which is effectively 27 to the power of 22, which we will say 13k plus 1 multiplied by 3 square 9 divided by 13. This we realize 13k multiplied by 9 by 13 will of course be divisible by 13 plus 9 by 13, and the remainder will turn out to be what? 9. Option C, 9 will be the correct answer. Let's have a look at 17th. The train traveled a certain distance at a uniform speed. So let's say suppose the speed was s, the time was t, so the distance will turn out to be s into t. This is a basic equation. Had the speed been 6 kilometers per hour more, so your speed turns out to be s plus 6. In that case, of course, when you have increased the speed, the time taken would be lesser. It needed 4 hours less. So it will be t minus 4. So even if I multiply s plus 6 multiplied by t minus 4, I should be able to get the same distance, which was s into t originally, correct? Now go further. Had the speed been 6 kilometers per hour less, now you are reducing the speed by 6. So time is of course going to increase and it would need 6 more hours given on the question. So it will become t plus 6. So what are we going to get? We are going to get s minus of 6 into t plus of 6. Just a second. S minus of 6 into t plus of 6. That should be equals to the distance, right? So let's try to work the equations. So st should be equals to this distance, which I'm writing it as st minus of 4s plus of 60 minus of 24, right? St and st will get cancelled out. So I have my first equation, which says 60 minus of 4s, which is equals to 24. Divide this value by 2. You are going to get 3t minus of 2s is equals to 12. That's my first equation, right? Now, by now, I understand that if I equate st with this equation over here, this is also going to yield one value for me, right? So what is that equation? St plus of 6 times of s minus of 6 times of t minus of 36 must be equals to st. So st and st will get cancelled out. 6 is also something that you can cancel. So what will you get? S minus t is equals to 6. This is my second equation. Using these two equations, I can find the value of s and t and then can find the distance as well. So let me multiply this equation by 3 and use it with this. So I'll get minus 3t plus of 3s is equals to 18. That's my second equation, right? Now, if I add the two equations, what is going to happen? This will get cancelled out. What will we have over here? S. And 18 plus 12 is going to be what? 30. So my value of S turns out to be equals to 30. If my value of S turns out to be equals to 30, put it in any equation. 30 minus of 6 must be equals to T, which is equals to what? 24. So the time period will be equals to 24. They're asking you the distance S into T, which is 24 into 30 should give me the answer, which is 720. Option C, 720 should be the correct answer. Let's look at question number 18. Now, this is again a question which, if you observe it very carefully, you will be able to find a simpler solution to the question rather than looking at the graphical understanding of this. They want distinct integral solutions of x and y. Now, understand this thing. What is your right hand side? 2. What is your left hand side? 2 modulus addition of that. Now, when I say modulus, of course, both the outputs, output of this and output of this, must be what? Positive numbers, right? And x and y are integers. So if x and y are integers, that means the outcome of this will also be integers. Sum of two positive integers should turn out to be equals to 2, right? So what can I say about the values of x plus y and x minus y? Remember, I'm not talking about the modulus. I'm just saying x plus y and x minus y can take what values. We have concluded that the outcome should be, of course, the positive numbers and integers, and the sum of the two positive integers or a 0 should be equals to 2. So you can take x plus y as 0. In that case, x minus y can be plus minus 2, because when you take the modulus of plus minus 2, it will give you 2, and the equation will get satisfied. So you will get two pair of equations from this place. Second, x plus y can be plus minus 1 and x minus y can be plus minus 1. In that case also, if you take the modulus, your sum is going to be 2. Or what you can do over here is this can be plus minus 2 and this can be 0. Now, if we solve these equations, we should be able to get the values of pair of values of x and y. So I'm going to write a value of x over here, write a value of y over here, and see how many pairs are possible. Now let me take the first set of equation, x plus y is equals to 0, and the second set of equation is x minus y is equals to plus 2, correct? So if I look at this, I can add the two equations. What will I get? I'll get 2x is equals to 2 and x will turn out to be equals to 1. If x turns out to be equals to 1 and you put it in any one of these equations, y will turn out to be equals to minus 1. So x is 1 and y is minus 1 is the first solution that I'm getting, corresponding to the first pair of equation. What is the second pair of equation? X plus y is equals to 0. And what are we getting? X minus y should be equals to minus 2. Again, it is not very difficult to answer this, but we need to understand that they're talking about integral solutions. So that is the reason why we'll have to check whether we are getting the integers or not, right? So if you add the two equations, you are going to get 2x is equals to minus 2. So if 2x is turning out to be equals to minus 2, x will turn out to be equals to minus 1 in this case. If x is turning out to be equals to minus 1, put it back into any one of these equations, y will turn out to be equals to 1. So 1 comma minus 1, minus 1 comma 1 are the two distinct points that we have gotten at the moment from this set of values, right? We can quickly finish this set of values also and then we'll come to this. So if you look at the last pair of values, we are going to say x plus y is equals to 2 and x minus y is going to be equals to 0. So x will be equals to y, you put it back over here. What will you get? You will get 2y is equals to 2, y will turn out to be equals to 1. If y turns out to be equals to 1, x will also turn out to be equals to 1, right? So that is the first one. Then x plus y is equals to minus 2 and x minus y is equals to 0. I'm still solving this particular piece, right? So if you look at this and add the two equations, what are you going to get? You are going to get 2x is equals to minus 2. So x will turn out to be equals to minus 1 in this case. If x turns out to be equals to minus 1 in this case, y will turn out to be equals to 1, right? If x turns out to be equals to minus 1, y will turn out to be equals to minus 1 in this. Sorry, minus 1 in this. So minus 1 comma minus 1 will turn out to be the answer for this, right? So we have got four pair of values. Now we are just to solve this particular piece, and these equations are not very difficult, although I understand that this is turning out to be slightly lengthy, but a short answer is what we are looking at. So x plus y is equals to 1 and x minus y is equals to also 1. Plus 1 and plus 1 is the values that I've taken. So if you add the two equations, minus y and plus y will get cancelled out. 2x will be equals to 2, x will be equals to 1. If x is turning out to be equals to 1, y is turning out to be equals to 0. That's the first set of values. Then I still keep x plus y equals to 1 and I take x minus y is equals to minus 1. Correct? Now, if you add the two equations now, what are we going to get? We are going to get 2x is equals to 0. So x will turn out to be equals to 0. If x turns out to be equals to 0, y will turn out to be equals to 1. So 1 comma 0, 0 comma 1 is a pair of solutions that we have got. Now let's take x plus y equals to minus 1. If I take x plus y equals to minus 1 and I take x minus 1 equals to plus 1. So if you add the two equations, now what are we getting? We are getting 2x is equals to 0. So x is equals to 0 and x is equals to 0 and y is turning out to be equals to minus 1. And then we have the last piece with us where we say x plus y is equals to minus 1 and x minus y is turning out to be equals to minus 1. When you add the two equations, you are going to get 2x is equals to minus 2. So x will turn out to be equals to minus 1. So if x turns out to be equals to minus 1, y will turn out to be equals to 0. So how many pair of values that you have? Corresponding to each of these, you got integer values, and hence 8 pair of values is what you will get for this particular question. Let's look at question number 19. It says Rajesh and Vimal own 20 hectares and 30 hectares of agricultural land respectively, which are entirely covered by wheat and mustard. So both 20 acres land and 30 acres land, both are covered by both the crops, which is wheat and mustard. The cultivation area of wheat and mustard in the land owned by Vimal. So Vimal is owning how much? Vimal is owning 30 hectares, and there the ratio of wheat to mustard is given to me. The ratio of wheat to mustard is given to me as 5 is to, correct? Now, if the cultivation area of wheat and mustard are in the ratio of 11 is to 9. Now, important thing to understand is if the total cultivation area, what was the total cultivation area? 50, right? Out of that 50, they are saying that wheat to mustard ratio is 11 is to 9, which then gives me very clearly what total wheat area and total mustard area, right? Which is going to be what? 11 by 20 of 50 units will be my what? Will be my wheat area, right? Total wheat area I'm talking about. Now this is going to be what? 55 divided by, that is going to be what? 27.5. This will be the total wheat area. What will be the total mustard area? The total mustard area will be 9 by 20 of 50, which is going to be 22.5, which is going to be what? 22.5, right? So now I have the total wheat and the total mustard area. Vimal area is also something that I can calculate in terms of wheat and mustard. So what is the wheat area for Vimal? Vimal wheat area will be what? You are going to say 5 by 8 of 30. If you look at 5 by 8 of 30, you are going to say that it is 75. This is going to be 15 and this is going to be 4. 75 by 4 is what you are looking at. If you look at 75 by 4, then it is going to be 4 ones a 4, 4 eights a 32, and then you have 18.75. Now if you look at 18.75 and you subtract 18.75 from 27.5, you will get the wheat area for Rajesh. Rajesh's wheat area is something that you will get. So if you subtract this, what am I going to get? 10 minus 5 is 5, 7, and then we are going to have 8.75. Now Rajesh mustard area is something that we need to now calculate. So if I look at Vimal's mustard area, that is going to be equals to 3 by 8 of 30. If I look at 3 by 8 of 30, it is going to be 11.25 that we are going to get, because the total was 30. So 18.75 is gone over here. So you will have 11.25 over here. So if you subtract this, you will get the area over here also. So this is going to be 0.25, 11.25. So what are they talking about? They are talking about wheat to mustard area 8.75, which is 875 divided by 1125 is what is turning out to be the answer. When you solve this, this will turn out to be 7:9 as the answer for this. Let's look at question number 20. For any real non-zero number x, f of x plus of 2 times of 1 by f of 1 by x, f of 1 by x is turning out to be equals to 3x. That's what the question is talking about. Now, it is a very peculiar question. If we have prepared well, we will be able to see through the design of the question. We can look at this and say, instead of x, if I put 1 by x, I will get one more equation. If I put 1 by x over here, what will I get? I'll say 2 times of f of x is equals to 3 by x. Instead of x, I've put 1 by x. I can do that, right? Now, if I add the two equations, what am I going to get? You will get 3f of x and 3 times of f of 1 by x. So you are overall going to get 3 times of f of x plus f of 1 by x, which is turning out to be equals to the sum on this side, which is 3 times of x plus 1 by x. So 3 will get cancelled out. So now I know the value of f of x plus f of 1 by x, which is turning out to be how much? X plus 1 by x. Now go back to this first equation. F of x plus f of 1 by x is something that I have in terms of x, right? Which is x plus 1 by x. So I'm writing x plus 1 by x in place of what? F of x plus f of 1 by x. But there was 2 times of f of 1 by x, right? So I will still be left with f of 1 by x. That should be equals to 3x. This implies what? F of x, f of 1 by x will turn out to be 3x minus x, which is 2x minus of 1 by x. This will be f of 1 by x. Now, if I've got f of 1 by x, replace this 1 by x with x, what will you get? F of x. F of x will turn out to be what? 2 by x. In place of x, we are putting 1 by x. So over here, what will you get? You will get x. So f of x is turning out to be what? 2x, 2 by x minus of x. Now, what is the question asking you? The sum of all possible real values of x for which f of x is equals to 3. So what are we saying? We are saying 2 by x minus of x is turning out to be equals to 3. So what are we getting? 2 minus of x square is equals to 3x. So what are we getting? X square plus of 3x minus of 2 is turning out to be equals to 0. Now, what is the question asking you? Sum of all possible real values of x. If you look at this and look at the discriminant, which is b square, which is 9, minus of 4 into minus of 2, that will give you a positive number. So the roots over here are real for sure, right? That's one thing. What will be the sum of the values of x? Minus 3 by 1, which is going to be what? Minus 3. So option A, minus 3, will be the correct answer for this question. The number of all positive integers up to 500 with non-repeating digits. Now, all positive integers is what they're talking about. So we will have, if I have to go all the way from 1 to 500, there will be single digit numbers also, there will be two digit numbers also, there will be three digit numbers also, right? So if I'm talking about single digit numbers, what are the single digit numbers? 1 all the way up to 9. Of course, there is no repetition of digits in this because there is only one digit. So there are how many numbers that we are looking at? We are looking at 9 numbers as a single digit numbers. Now let's talk about two digit numbers. If you look at two digit numbers, over here, how many digits can come? I'm looking at two digit numbers. So from 0 to 9, total of 10 digits, but 0 cannot come. So you have 9 options over here. Now, a number that has come over here cannot come over here, but 0 can come over here. So what are we saying? 0 to 9, 10 digits, but one of the digits has already been occupied. So how many digits? 9 digits. So total, how many numbers, two digit numbers that we are looking at? We are looking at total of 81 two digit numbers. Right now, we have to look at three digit numbers and we have to ensure that we do not exceed 500. So at this place, what are the options? You have all the options 1 up to 4. Correct? Now, any digit that has come over here will not come over here. But 0 is allowed at this place. So what are we saying? 0 to 9, 10 digits. But one of the digits is occupied over here. So how many options? 9 options over here. Now, at this place, what is going to happen? Two of the digits have been occupied. So from 0 to 9, 10 digits, two digits are gone. 8 digits is what you are left with. 0 is, of course, allowed at this place. So 9 8s are 72. 4 times of 72. So that is going to be equals to 288. So you are looking at 288 plus 81 plus 9, which is going to be what? 90 over here. 288 plus of 90 is what you are looking at, which is 378 as the answer for this question. Let's look at this one. The midpoint of the side AB, BC, and AC of a triangle ABC are M, N, and P respectively. So you have drawn a triangle and you are looking at the midpoints of the sides. So if you look at the side A, B, and C, and you are looking at the midpoints M, N, and P respectively. So AB has got M over here, BC has got N over here, and P over here. So you're looking at the midpoints. The medians are drawn from A, B, and C line segments. Line segment MP, MN, and NP. So they're joining the midpoints. So if you join the midpoints of each of these sides, this is how the figure looks like. And you have a median also. So if you draw a median from here, then this is going to intersect at the point X, Y, and Z is what this question is talking about. That MP is intersected at X. So this is the point that you are looking at X. Now, before we go any further, this looks like a very symmetrical figure because Y is also something that you are going to get by doing the same thing. And Z is also something, a point that you are going to get when you will take the intersection of one of these sides between MP, MN, and PN with a median, right? Now, understand this thing that it is a median that you are talking about and P and M are the midpoints. If P and M are the midpoints, then what happens? PM becomes parallel to CM. If PM becomes parallel to CM, then this angle becomes equal. Then this is a common angle between the two triangles that we are looking at. And then the third angle will also become equal. That means what? That means that the two triangles, which two triangles are we referring to? ACN and APX over here, right? These two triangles are turning out to be similar. We already know that P is the midpoint. So AP by AC will be equals to what? 1 by 2. Similarly, over here also, this side PX will be divided into half. So PX will be half of PM. So this point is turning out to be the midpoint of PM is all what I wanted to communicate, right? Now, redraw this without the median and you will realize that it is going to give you your answer a lot easier if you do not clutter your diagram. So let's look at the points A, B, and C. The midpoints over here are M, N, and P. Got it? Now join these midpoints. If you join these midpoints, what are we trying to say? That X is a midpoint of PM, Y is over here, and Z is suppose over here. So this is also joining the midpoints. Now, if I look at the triangle ABC, then and I join the midpoints of their sides, what we are going to do is we are going to divide the entire triangle into four equal parts. Let me erase a few points and that will make it clear for you. So if you now look at this triangle, bigger triangle ABC has been divided into four smaller equal triangles. So what is P, M, and N? The area of P, M, and N is going to be 1/4 of the area of A, B, and C, which is 1440 given on the question. Correct? Now, if I take the midpoints of these sides now, look at the triangle PMN, right? This triangle has been once again divided into four equal parts, wherein this part, which was the center, which was X, Y, Z that we are referring to, X, Y, and Z that we are referring to, is going to be 1/4 of P, M, and N. So XYZ, area of XYZ will be 1/4 of P, M, and N, the area of the triangle PMN. So 1/4 of 1/4 of 1440 is what they are asking us to calculate. So if you look at this, 4 3s are 12, 4 6 are 24, 360, and then this is going to give me what? 90. So what will be the area of XYZ? It is going to be 90 square meters. That will be the answer for question number 22.